Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to an entry for video about a film which is a little bit hard to go into, which is called Companion. It just came out not that long ago, and I was reading this year's first issue of Fangoria magazine, and it actually had a quote from Jack Quaid about going in blind, as well as some of the filmmakers and everybody involved. So I'd completely skipped that article. Never read a synopsis for this, definitely never saw a trailer, but I did see one poster which did have maybe like a minor spoiler in a way. But this is what I want to do with this one. So I want to split this into three different parts. So first, our first segment will be as blind as possible, more vanilla than I even usually go into, where it's just the overall feel, not too many specifics that would have anything to impact the story. But just letting you know as much as I can about why I enjoyed it, and why I think you should maybe give it a shot. The second segment is going to be based off of just what has been revealed in that trailer and synopsis. So if you already saw that trailer, it will only include info that was given away in that trailer. So then we will have the third one, which is my usual spoiler warning section, where I will go into more detail, a lot of specifics about the story. Anything that I didn't cover in that vanilla aspect or in that trailer aspect, I'll then go over in that third segment, and I'll put up warnings about when I go into those. So if you know nothing, I'll give you the non-spoiler blind info. If you've already seen the trailer, stick around for that second segment where we'll go into some of that. And then after you watch the film, or if you've already seen it, go ahead and watch the rest of the video. So let's begin here with the blind aspects of Companion from 2025, starring Jack Quaid, who I'm familiar with mainly from The Boys, Sophie Thatcher of Yellow Jackets, I know her from Book of Boba Fett, Lucas Gage, who I know from Smile 2, and Harvey Goyen, who I pretty much only know from What We Do in the Shadows. I thought it was an amazing show. But these characters that they play are kind of heading out to a weekend in the woods in a cabin, But by cabin, it's more like a really nice house. Not rustic at all, but it's definitely very secluded. But overall, it's just a basic hangout that they're going to do out there. And then things kind of turn bad. There's a death, a twist for one or two of the characters here and there. And it quickly turns into this thriller of, people being on the run, who's at threat of being hurt or killed. What other ulterior motives are going to come out from any of these characters in this situation, and who will survive this time in the cabin. Now, there's a lot in this film about control, control in a relationship in a way, for example, like your own body autonomy and everything, the choices one can make, as well as stuff about greed, self-centered aspects of somebody's personality, issues connecting with others and trying to find a partner, and so on. But once that first death happens, it is tense for the rest of the film, and it never really slows down. Throw in that we have a very slim runtime of only about 97 minutes. It's paced perfectly and kind of tells a great self-contained story. And while there is some violence and blood in it, it's not over the top. There are even a few moments where we have a little bit of humor sprinkled in. But make no mistake, the stakes are really high. The threats are looming in the, around everybody, and you'll want to stick around to see how the film ends. Now that's about as much as I can say to keep it as vanilla as possible, to have non-spoilers at all. It's really best to go in as blind as possible, even avoid the main poster. That's why I was using this more of like a teaser poster for it, because I didn't even want to show what that other poster was. So with all that said, like I said, I think you should really go in blind. While the synopsis itself won't really spoil anything, the trailer, in my opinion, really does. It gives away a lot. It will still be good even having seen that trailer, but it's absolutely best to have avoided it. But if you've already seen that trailer, then go ahead and stick around here, because in this next segment here, it's really just for those who've seen the trailer, already know what this movie pretty much is about and all those details. So definitely click away if you haven't seen that trailer and you want to go in blind, like I recommend, like the filmmakers recommend. And here we go. So with all that said earlier, on top of those vanilla aspects, let's break this down a little bit more of what we've seen in the trailer. Iris is a robot. She kills somebody. She was evidently jailbroken. For those not familiar, figure taking your phone and unlocking a bunch of stuff that's normally locked down by your cell phone provider and even by the operating system itself. It's too technical. Basically, she's been jailbroken, so other things can be done to her programming that normally wouldn't be allowed. And so after she has killed somebody, now she's on the run. And while the film still works with all of that out there, it's really better without knowing, in my opinion. But now that all that's out of the way, so I thought the entire reveal time frame worked great, as I think it's about 25 minutes of this until anything really major happens. You start to pick up on little bits of keys, and like I said, I'd seen that poster, which I changed up to this other one here, which I could tell from that poster she was likely a robot or possessed, but more likely a robot, it just seemed like. But the lead up to that actual reveal was great, because even knowing that, I was looking for these little clues about her along the way. It was great seeing like this introduction from her point of view, and hearing, like the trailer says, that the happiest days in her life was, the first was when she met her guy, and the second was killing him. So we already know all that going in, but while that does give away that she does kill him right there in the trailer, there is still a lot more going on here. All these characters were well written, and I love the dynamic between Harvey's character and his boyfriend, played by Lucas Gage. Iris's place in this group is really laid out well as far as how they know her and how he knows her. Our main lead, played by Jack Quaid. So where the trailer shows she takes someone out, there is still a lot more going on in this as far as how it happened, who or what else is involved in this little rampage. And as the trailer shows, she even gets access to things such as being able to increase her intelligence while on the run. So while she did go crazy for some reason, she's not sure why, killed somebody and is on the run and is not initially just even understanding what happened, she can now change herself to be able to outsmart this whole situation. Now, while the trailer does spoil it a bit, just know that you will likely still enjoy it, because the idea of Iris being a robot, while a central aspect to the story, there's a lot more going on here. There's more twists and turns. It's more of those bits of humor that I was mentioning about, and it's a film which you will genuinely want to see how it all ends. Okay, so now that second segment is done, we're going to go into the major spoiler territory, so I'll put up this banner here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to check out the film, go ahead and check it out. Come back here, pick up where you left off. Otherwise, if you've already seen it, here we go. You've been warned. If you are searching for that remote, or you're trying to pause or click off the video, that's it. Here we go into Spoiler Town. So, like I said, I saw the poster with her having those white eyes, and I knew that she was likely a robot, but the extra stuff, which I didn't mention before, that really stood out, for instance, were like this little meet-cutes that they set up between like Harvey's character and Lucas's, as well as between our leads. They're really interesting to see how they kind of make these fake memories as something that they can call back to when they're setting things up. Which brings us to that setup, seeing Iris being delivered and being told about everything that's done as far as how this thing will latch onto him, and he can control different aspects such as intelligence. But it's really interesting, because then we also get to see when those scenes come up, it kind of breaks things up a little bit. So we're not just constantly on the run. We get a little breath to see a flashback here and there from that thriller and horror side of it, and just fill us in on some info. I thought it was a really cool way to kind of put all that out there. But also getting to see that little seed planted about the user agreement as he was setting everything up. We knew it would come back, and it really paid off great, because it gave a cool way to kind of extend this a little bit, bring Iris back into the fold. I really enjoyed the aspects outside of the intelligence, whether it's the eye color that she could change about herself, the voice commands, or especially her voice and language. I thought it was a clever way for her to use that other language to confuse that cop, or be able to imitate Jack Quaid's voice to voice control his devices, such as his car. They just really sprinkled these things along the way that kept it interesting the whole time. But I also liked everything about how they set up that Lucas Gage's character is also a robot, that it wasn't this bad, horrible thing that he found out, but that he knew it, and because of his programming, he's still in love with his boyfriend. I felt we were really seeing something kind of cool with this, that I'm surprised that I hadn't seen. Like, it felt almost like it was spun off from like the Blade Runner universe, like we had like a Nexus 8 or 9 or whatever, which seems so real and so alive, and may even think it's alive itself, having no idea it's a robot. I was thinking, how hasn't this been done before? Have I just not seen a movie that had this kind of thing happening within it before? It's a really cool story that they set up. And so even knowing beforehand that she is this robot, everything was fine. But at any rate, I thought that the violence, gore, and thrills were great. The twists and turns about this planned murder, this money that they're trying to get from this Russian guy, even the fact that he's maybe not that much of a bad guy, a bit of an asshole, but he didn't get his money out of anything nefarious. It was great. And especially what I thought was cool was seeing little bits more and more about Jack Quaid's character, that he's not perfect. He didn't read the license agreement. It didn't know anything about the recordings that it has, and it messed up his whole plan. you see her kind of figuring him out, that he's really like this weak and shallow person who can't connect to anybody or connect with anybody. But leading up to this, also seeing how cruel he can be as the story kind of moves on, it really turned me against him more and more. So I was excited to see how she would take him out, which she really screwed him. Anyways, even the texts we're having about like rich people getting these for like target practice or to torture them, because even though they aren't real humans, they do feel everything. You know, a companion is one thing, a pure sex bot is another, but to use one as a torture outlet or target practice, it just shows how people can warp this technology to do some really bad stuff. And while this is all around those programmed robots and, you know, not real people, like I said, the fact that they believe they're real, that they actually feel this, that somebody would want to do that, is really crazy. It brings up a lot of moral questions. You know, not so much should we consider them real people, like real living people, and give them rights and respect them and whatever, but it's just who would want to torture one of these things? That's just really bizarre. What does it say about that person? But anyways, let me go ahead and change this poster and take this little banner down in case anybody wanted to fast forward to the end for this wrap up. I'll summarize it this way, because I've definitely yammered on a bit. Going in as blind as possible, in my opinion, is definitely the best way to do it. The filmmakers and those involved, they were right. As blind as possible is definitely the best way. If you already saw the trailer and you had all of those spoilers, or even if you just saw the poster and you figured out some stuff, it would still be fine, because it does have an interesting story. It's got some blood, some violence, some great performances, some really cool twists and reveals, which make it more than worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out this latest video here for Companion from 2025, which at the time of this video is, I believe it's still in theaters, but it's also on digital rental and digital purchase, so it'll likely be hitting another streaming service sometime in the next few weeks. If possible, avoid that synopsis or even the poster. Definitely try not to watch that trailer, but if you do come across them like I did with that poster, the movie can still be a lot of fun. Anyways, that's all I got for this one. Thanks for coming by and for sticking around to the end. And if you enjoyed, please give me a thumbs up. And if not already subscribed, consider subscribing and checking out some of my backlog there. And before leaving, if you enjoyed this film, go ahead and sound off in the comments. Just keep it tame down there. Maybe put up a little spoiler warning text and press enter a few times so it kind of scrolls it off the screen in case anybody else comes across that comment. Just let me know what you thought of it. And you know what, I actually had another idea. It might be interesting to do a spoiled movie review where I can pick a film, watch the trailers, read the synopsis, even read the plot outline, and see how it affects the film for me on that first time through. I have to come up with one that I've never seen that I could do that with. Anyways, thanks again for coming by. That's all I got for this one, and I will see you in the next one.